TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Good morning and welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go on the world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com. You are now in touch with the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., who is live on the phone line from Washington, D.C. And this is radio the way it should be heard. The phone lines are open, and you can call at 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com, and I will try to get them on. We have a bevy of Gmail, so we may not get to yours today, but we will get to it on an up-and-coming show. Mr. Fuller is an author of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, and I will have him speak to that right now. Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you? Mr. Fuller, good morning, how are you?
Still learning. Do you hear me?
Okay. Well, yes, we hear you now, and you can hear me. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted you to explain a little bit about your book, talk about that so we can continue with the show.
I wrote it for the purpose of trying to solve the race problem and replace it with a better system of running the world affairs. That better system presumably would be something that I've never heard of as being ever tried in a successful manner, but that would be a system of justice. Replace the system of racism with the system of justice. I think that would go a long ways toward making the world the type of place that it should have been in the first place. And justice, of course, would mean, in my opinion, guaranteeing that no person is mistreated, white or non-white, short or tall, male or female, any kind of creature in the form of a person, none is ever mistreated, and extend that to the entire environment. Don't mistreat the environment and whatnot. Everything that would put everything in balance throughout the entire universe. That's what I wrote the book for. And it's addressed to the individual victims of racism. I tailored it deliberately to the individual victims of racism because I think that's where the genesis of solving this problem and all other problems should originate. That's the logical place where it should originate, meaning the non-white people of the planet. Mm-hmm. They are the victims of racism. And the title of the book is called The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. And it's a compensatory counter-racist code. And it's a textbook workbook for thought, for speech, and or action addressed to the individual, and I want to emphasize this, the individual victims of racism. It's not an organization, shouldn't even be tried to attempt to be made into an organization. There are enough organizations. So this is for the individual person who may or may not be members of organizations, that's fine. But it's not another organization. We have enough organizations out here that need support, and maybe they should be supported if they have the correct thing in mind. They all should be supported. But we don't need another organization, I don't think, in my opinion. We just need to support the ones we already have. But each individual is an organization within him or herself. I think that's the missing link. That's why I wrote the book. And that's why I'm belaboring this definition of what the book is about. And it's about what an individual person can do or say each and every day, minute by minute, things to do, things not to do, in every area of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Wherever a person might be on the planet, engaging in any one or more of these areas of activity, there are things to do and things not to do. That's what the book is addressed to. And you can get the book by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com.
All right. And before we go on and give you a donation update, we are now at $3,600. So we need $500 more to go to reach our goal of $4,100. And all you have to do, and we appreciate those that have done this, all you have to do is go to the talktainmentradio.com homepage. As a matter of fact, one of our listeners who wanted to make a donation could not see the donate button on the homepage, but it is there. I've verified it. It's right underneath where you, where the letters, or you want to make a call, the 1-800 numbers. It is right underneath there. You just hit the donate button and you can hit any amount that you want to put on it. All deductions are tax deductible, so make sure you do that when you go to the homepage, and you'll be all set to go. Okay, we are in the fifth area of people activity, the law, and we are going to start on page 161. Now, mind you, we will not hit every single area or go verbatim down the page. We hit certain areas. There are some that want every area to be hit, but we cannot do that. And there are some that do not like Mr. Fuller to read it, but since these are his words, we try to get it, or it was determined that we would let him read the tournament, or rather read what he has written, and then we would discuss that. And of course, we will, take your calls on that too. So, Mr. Fuller, with that in mind, starting with a question at the bottom of page 161 of the revised expanded edition of the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept, you wrote, "What is the correct way to regard any act of suicide by a non-white person?"
Well, it says here, according to compensatory counter-racist logic, any non-white person who commits so-called suicide while he or she is subject to the system of white supremacy is a victim of a racist war crime. Why? Because I look at it from the prison system, and I'm not reading directly from it now, but I'm explaining what that statement meant and what it's supposed to mean and what its function is. We're all in a prison system called the system of white supremacy, which is called racism. That is worldwide. And when we say we're all in this system, we mean everybody on the planet. It's the system of white supremacy. And in this system, you have the prison masters, and you have white people who are not prison masters, those who don't believe in white supremacy, and you have the victims of white supremacy, who are the prisoners. And that's every non-white person that's on the planet is now a prisoner of war. Of what war? The war against non-white people by the white supremacists. We are already in captivity. They're not trying to capture us. We are already, if you're classified as non-white, that's what being classified as non-white means. It means you are now a prisoner of war and have been. All the people who are on the planet now classified as non-white were born in the prison of the system of white supremacy. So, let's talk about the suicide. Let's look at it from a logical standpoint. If you are a prisoner of war, and if you're classified as non-white, you are a prisoner of war. The way to look at this is if someone in your cell block, you might say, which means any place on the planet, so-called countries, they're nothing but cell blocks, if they're supposed to be black countries or whatnot, or wherever a black person is. They are in a cell block wherever it is, okay, because the whole world is a prison for you under the system of racism. So any person who is classified as non-white and is a prisoner of war, and that person commits suicide in the prison called the system of white supremacy, logically speaking, by prison rules worldwide, the masters of the prison are to blame because you have a suicide in their prison. And they're supposed to be on suicide watch. They're supposed to watch out for that. We're in captivity. So the prisoner is committing suicide on account of the prisoner's giving up on ever getting out of prison. So that's a racist war crime on the part of every white person who is a racist white supremacist. They are guilty of that. Why? Because they never should have had the person in the prison in the first place, because the system of white supremacy itself never should have existed, because it's a system that's designed to dominate and mistreat people. So this was a bogus war, an unjustifiable war from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, that's where the racist war crime charge against every white supremacist is made every time a black person anywhere on the planet commits suicide for any reason. That's the way that works. A non-white person.
Yes, sir. Okay. All righty. Now, you wrote on page 162 on that same line in the middle of the page, you said, do not confuse, and you put in quotations, comfort with justice, and then you parenthesize balance between people. Then you said, do not accept, again, in quotations, comfort as a substitute for justice, or speak or act as if, again, comfort has the same meaning as justice. Could you expound on that, please?
Well, it just means that you are comfortable in your cell, which is anywhere on the planet where you happen to be, if you're classified as black, brown, red, or yellow, tan, beige, or non-white. You're classified by the white supremacists as a non-white person. They did that for a reason, because they're getting ready to dominate and mistreat you. That's how it all started. You dominate and mistreat a person that has color in his or her skin. That's what racism is. So, they captured all of the non-white people on the planet a long time ago. I don't know when. Some people say 400 to 600 years.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say, no, it's something like 2,000 years. That's a big stretch. That's a long time to get anything established. So, they made prisoners, like I said before, of all of the non-white people on the planet, and that prison is still intact. It's still in place for all of the non-white people of the planet. So, any non-white person who seeks to have comfort in the system of white supremacy, which we all do. I want to be comfortable.
Yes.
You know, that's natural to seek comfort, but don't mistake comfort for justice. See, because you're still a prisoner. So it's just like what? I'll give this illustration, like I gave illustrations about the other matter, about suicide. Someone comes in and gives you a better house, you know, or cell, you might say, in the prison system. They paint it, you know. You say, well, hey, I didn't, it's drab in here. I mean, I feel depressed and all like that. So they come in, the prison masters, and they paint everything up and make it look pretty and whatnot, and you appreciate that. And they give you a new mattress and whatnot, maybe a television set. That's nice and all that. And so these are comforts, okay? So you're getting comfortable, okay? And you say you accept this, and you should accept it, because who wants to be in discomfort on this planet? So if the white supremacists provide you with anything that makes you comfortable without doing you any harm, accept that. That's what you need. That's what you ask for. You need a better mattress, a bed, a better something, better food in your prison cell. But that's not a substitute for what should be. That is really not compensation. That's just on the road to compensation, because you really shouldn't be in there in the first place. So don't confuse comfort in the system of white supremacy, the prison system of white supremacy, with justice. Justice means you were supposed to have been guaranteed that you wouldn't have been mistreated in the first place by being imprisoned since from the time that you were born right up to this very moment, if you're on this planet called Earth. Because if you're a non-white person, you were born in that prison called the system of white supremacy, and you're still in it right this minute in the year 2017.
Yes, sir. TalkTeamRadio.com is a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here are several that I would like to share with you. One is called New Money. The other one, This is Libby, and another one, At the Table. All these shows are exclusive to TalkTainmentRadio.com, and all you have to do is go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage and then click on Programs for scheduled times and also the days. This is an announcement from TalkTainmentRadio.com. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. We are discussing the fifth and final installment of the fifth area of people activity, which is the law. And this is what you can do right now. If you would like to get in contact with the show, and many do, simply do this. Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. And I will try to get your emails on and read them, and we can go from there. The reason why I say that is because the usual suspects are up to their shenanigans, which we will read a Gmail about that. And that is preventing you from making calls right now. But as I speak, we are working on that particular problem. And as we do that, Mr. Fuller, this is what I would like for you to do. And when we go to our break at the bottom, Mr. Fuller, I want you, or it has been requested that you hang up and then call back about 6 minutes after that so that we can do what we have to do to make sure that we can get you and the callers on. Okay, so when we go to break, just hang up and then for 6 minutes and then call back. And then hopefully we'll have it so that we can also get calls in, because the usual suspects are in play. And this is what they do. All righty, let's do this. Let's go to the Gmails from Dr. Lawson. He says this: greetings, Mr. Fuller and Mr. Bobby. I use the Talktainment Radio app to listen to the show. I'm also on the West Coast and listen from 6 a.m. local time, which would be 9 when we come on. There is no doubt in my mind the usual suspects are trying to limit the exposure of the compensatory concept. It is my belief the PTBs are trying to discourage people from hearing the message of Mr. Fuller's compensatory concept directly from the source. When the shenanigans begin, maybe we can have Mr. Fuller expound on a few of his general compensatory quotations. Let's see. For example, on page 432, and I'm going to that right now. Page 432, a person is born with or without color, but a person can only join a race in what context is Mr. Fuller using the word born or join? Can a person join a race by invitation or excitement? Thank you, Dr. Lawson.
Oh, a person joins a race because there's no such thing as a race of people other than the white race. That's something that was set up. It's like an organization. The white race is an organization. You have to join it. You're born with a certain color or non-color, which they call white. Within that context, white would be a non-color. It would be an absence of color. Since the white supremacists say that non-white people are people of color, people who have color. So that would mean that white is not a color. That's why they used to have signs up saying colored people. It's kind of confusing. It doesn't make sense, but then racism itself makes no sense within the logical order of things, within the universal order of things. It's a bogus concept. It's something that was dreamed up in order to mistreat people and benefit from that mistreatment. That's all it is, just another system of mistreatment. So it's kind of cumbersome in a way of speaking, even in explaining it. But the white supremacists, in a lot of ways, don't care about that. They just got it off and running and working, and they tweak it in any which way that they wish to, as they want to. So they classified people by race. They told the non-white people what race they belonged to. The non-white people said, race? You know, I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a member of the Zulu tribe, I'm a member of the Iroquois tribe, I'm a member of this tribe or that tribe or the people of the mountain or the people of the valley. Where does this race come from? And the white supremacist said it came from me. And I'm going to impose it on you people. And I'm going to categorize people by race. Why? Because that's my choice. And I think I have the muscle to do it. And I'm going to prove that you are members of the race, at least to my satisfaction. And this is going to be the Negroid race. This is going to be the yellow race. This is going to be the red race. And the people who they were talking about, including myself and the ancestors of myself, I guess, stood around and looked at each other and said, what in the world are they talking about? I mean, you know, are they doing this? What are they doing this on the basis of? They were doing it on the basis of your color. And we're deciding what color you are. All right? We even make that up. I mean, because we will say what shade of color you are. We will decide that maybe, is there going to be a beige race? No, that's too cumbersome. We'll just lump them all together and say that they're non-white. And then we'll break it down as we go along, and we'll switch it around from time to time. But we will be the master race of all of the other races. So they came up with that concept, and it took off like a brush fire and turned out to be the most powerful political and religious idea that the world has ever experienced, and the greatest recipe for mistreating people on a grand scale of any other concept: communism, capitalism, militarism, any type of ism that you can think of. All the different religions that have warred against each other, none of them have been as successful or as ingenious and as powerful as this thing called the system of white supremacy. And the white race in that system is the only race of people. The rest of the people are just people of color. Just the people who are being exploited. They were told that they are members of a race, but when did they join? I never joined any race of people. I was told that I was a member of a race. Told by whom? After I started asking around. How did I get to be a member of a race? They said, well, this is what some white people said that you are. Oh, that's how I got to be a member of a race. Well, did I have to sign up? Did I sign anything to join? Well, they said that you must. You must sign up. When they hand you a piece of paper, put down what your race is. Say, well, was I born a member of a race? No. But you're a member of a race because the white supremacists say that that's what you are. Well, who does this benefit? Them. That's who it benefits. I mean, you didn't have to join no race to be able to eat breakfast or something like that. What are they doing? Where did this come from? Why is this necessary? On account of you have color in your skin. Well, I can't eat breakfast. I can't, climb a mountain. I can't go here. I can't go there because I have color in my skin. Yeah, that's the deal. You go where people who are classified as the master race tell you can go. Oh, that's the deal. And they do this without my consent? You better believe they do it without your consent. That's the deal. Well, how did this get started and all like that? Who knows? But it did get started, and you're living it, mister. So live with it or resist it. Now, you got a choice. And resisting it is going to cost you. We'll tell you that right now, because the white supremacists don't like it when you try to destroy what they have set up. They got a good business going, and they intend to keep it so far. This is 2017, and it seems like they don't want to turn loose. Some of them say that they do, but it hasn't gotten so serious that they actually do what they say they're trying to do when they could do it in 15 minutes.
All righty. Dr. Jordan from the Gmail says this, Mr. Fuller. He says, does even the naming of animals and insects possibly have racist intent behind it, like the word black widow, a poisonous spider? Can it also be insidiously referring to black widow also as a poisonous woman or a person?
Yes. Answer to that is yes. In the system of white supremacy, everything that is dark is considered something that you are supposed to disdain. Just the word dark, D-A-R-K, not black. Black is a different word, but it means the same thing. Black is dark. Most of the universe is dark. But the white supremacists say use the word dark more than the word black. But it means the same thing, something foreboding, something that you are supposed to avoid. You avoid darkness. I mean, you're not supposed to have a dark mood. Now, has anybody ever photographed a mood? I mean, there's no such thing as a dark mood. What do you mean, a dark mood? How could you tell that the mood was dark? They talk about events as if they were dark. They said 9/11 was a dark day in the city of New York and in the world. Okay. It wasn't in New York.
Okay, Mr. Fuller, I'm going to have to cut you off for just a second. Some people won't like that, but I have to do that. Remember, Mr. Fuller, hang up for about 6 minutes and then call back. Talk to him at radio.com. We'll be right back. Mr. Fuller, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And thank you, the technicians. Wow. Whoa, Mr. Fuller, during that 20 minutes, I just read from your book, your words. People probably are not going to like that, but I didn't want to use my words. I just read your words. But thank you for your patience. Thank you for those of you who did have the patience to hang with it. We are up and we are running. Now, wait a minute. Ed, they can call in on the 1-800. Okay. you may call in on the 1-877-932-9766 number. You can ask Mr. Fuller questions. If you want to criticize me, get down on me, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll take it today. But the main thing is we have Mr. Fuller back to hear his great words, which I want to hear also, because I am fully engaged in what he has to say. All right. We are in the fifth area of people activity, and it is the law, and we were asking questions, and let's go back from here. Mr. Fuller, remember, call 1-877-932-9766 so you can get in contact with the show. We are loud and clear, and you will hear Mr. Fuller, and he will answer your voice. This comes from the so-called French Guiana, Mr. Fuller. Mitro says, here's my question. According to the code, Mr. Fuller, what do you think, what do you mean by when you say you have no contract with anybody except with yourself? What is the logic behind this statement in a practical manner?
Well, it depends on what context he's talking about, so I'm not clear on that.
He says this was he said, apparently you must have said this somewhere. He says, according to the code, what does Mr. Fuller mean by, quote, he has no contract with anybody except himself? Now, I don't remember you saying that, but if you did, okay.
No, well, I don't remember the context in which it was said.
Oh, okay.
I've said that many times, but in different contexts, talking about different things.
Okay.
See, I mean, if we're talking about a business contract, or do I have a contract with the white supremacists? I mean, I don't understand the question.
Okay, all right.
Without the context.
I got you. Okay, Mitro, I'm sorry he couldn't do that, but let's go to the phone lines. Go ahead, caller, you're on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my question is the bottom of page 166. It says, whenever it is constructive to do so, use the names and or titles given to you by the white supremacists as evidence of what they have claimed as their so-called ownership of you. Could Mr. Fuller please explain that?
Okay. Mr. Fuller, did you hear the question?
No.
Okay, I'll repeat the question. The caller wanted to know, at the bottom of page 166, you wrote that whenever it is constructive to do so, use the name or names and or title or titles given to you by the white supremacists as evidence of what they have claimed as their so-called, quote, ownership, end of quote, that is criminal victimization of you.
Oh, yes. Well, the name that I have, like the name of Neely Fuller Jr. Where did I get that name? The people associated with the Nation of Islam and under Elijah Muhammad, during their time, they said that these are slave names. I mean, names like Smith, Jones, Thomas, Williams, Johnson. These are names like the slave owners name their slaves, like they name their animals sometimes, their dogs and whatnot, after themselves. So what I have written on page 166 of the basic textbook is whenever it is constructive to do so, use these names or titles given to you by the white supremacists as evidence of what they have claimed as their so-called ownership. That's why I have kept the name. I never changed my name to Kenyatta or something like that, simply because I like that paper trail. That's just my choice.
Mm-hmm.
I want to show, how did I get this name? This name was given to me. By whom? By my illegitimate mothers and fathers, who are the white supremacists of this entire planet. And so that's the reason some years ago somebody said, well, why do you hold on to this name, Neely Fuller Jr.? I mean, that's not even a decent name. I mean, what does that mean? It doesn't have any meaning and whatnot. Fuller, well, I looked up the name Fuller. I couldn't find the name Neely, so I don't know what that means. But I looked up the name Fuller, and it has changed down through the years. Fuller was a description of a person who was a soap maker at one time. In other words, a lot of what you call English Anglo names, they call it Anglo-Saxon names, are names for people and what they did as a trade or to make what they call a living. Say, for example, I have been told if your name is Woodsman, it's because you were a person that lived in the woods or you chopped wood. You were named, there comes the woodsman, the person that's going to bring us some chopped wood so we can make a fire. Or if you were a carpenter, there was another type of woodsman, you might say, but they would say that it was a carpenter. There was mason, and they would say that, oh, he works with stones and whatnot. Well, I understand Fuller at one time was a soap maker. I did just a little bit, and I didn't do much of research on the name Fuller, and they say Fuller was a soap maker. Later on, it became, and I think that's in the current dictionaries and encyclopedias and whatnot, the name Fuller means shaper of black iron. And I thought that was kind of ironic when I saw that. A shaper of black iron. Now, so maybe the name does fit. I mean, if a Fuller is a shaper of black iron, I intend to be strong like iron, and I intend to shape myself and probably shape some of the thinking of other people. So, shaper of black iron, what they sometimes call a blacksmith, I guess, might fit.
Okay.
But anyhow, even bypassing all of that, the main reason I put this in the book on 166 is to have a record.
Yes, sir.
That of where my name came from.
Okay.
And how did I get it? Raise questions about it.
Yes, sir.
See what I mean?
Yes,
how
sir.
did I get this name? What was the process? And who named me anyway? I mean, historically.
Yes, sir.
And for what reasons did they name me the name that I had? See?
Okay.
So that's why I said it's a record.
Okay. All right, caller. Thank you for that call. Thank you very much. We have another call here. Okay. Okay. Go ahead, caller. You're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question for him?
All right. Good morning.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead. And if we can't, I'll repeat it. But go ahead.
Okay. First, I want to thank you, Mr. Bobby, for your perseverance.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Question, Mr. Fuller. It seems like white people, especially white supremacists, they plan way ahead, and I'm not so good at planning. Do you have any suggestions of how to be a better planner? Is it just sitting down, writing out plans?
Okay, Mr. Fuller, could you hear him?
I hear of something like
okay,
that.
he was basically he was basically saying that he is not a good planner, to plan things. He noticed that white supremacists have a tendency to be good planners, and he was saying, if I remember correctly, how can he become a good planner? Is that correct, caller?
Yeah. And
okay.
I plan way in the future.
Okay. How can he plan way in the future according to the code?
By looking at what others have done that has been successful. In other words, use logic. I always say follow the logic. Don't follow people. You can use what others have done, that has been successful, if these people were using logic, and if what they have done wound up being something constructive. You can start with that. But basically, you think about, first of all, what it is you want to do. Why do you want to do it? And then how do you plan to do it, which means you will find some precedent, something that went before you, of what plans other people made that turned out to be of constructive value. And then what do you expect the constructive result to be of all your planning? First of all, you got to set a goal. You just don't plan in abstract. Just plan to do something without knowing what it is what it's supposed to look like when you finish, if you carry out the plan. So I say that, according to everything I've written, the overall plan of every non-white person on the planet should be to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. And you do this every day. You try to figure out, now, on this particular day, what can I do that will help to eliminate racism and or produce justice? Now, what is justice according to the code? Justice is guaranteeing that nobody's mistreated. That's one part. And the other part is guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Now, so getting to the plan. How do you do this? You plan as you go along. And you start with the minute that you have. This one moment right now, wherever you happen to be. You ask yourself, particularly, how can I prevent someone from being mistreated? If you're on the job right now, is anybody being mistreated on this job? Take an interest in that. It might be yourself. But if it's someone else has come to you and said, or you've heard a rumor that someone is being mistreated, just say, well, okay, that's a part of my plan, to have a world in which no one is mistreated. So I'm going to find out some details about William down the hall here, who says, people are saying that he's being mistreated here and whatnot. So I'm going down and I know William. I'm going down and talk to William. If you have that type of interaction with William, that's first thing you have to establish is some type of cordial interaction where William is willing to talk to you. It might be an associate of yours as a fellow employee or whatever, and you say, William, I understand you have a problem. What is the problem? And so if William is willing to share what the problem is that he is having, or Helen, or whatever her name might be, and then you talk and you say, oh, well, that sounds like mistreatment to me. And if the person says, well, yes, it is mistreatment, and then they tell you why, then you try to help the person, and by helping that person, you're helping yourself. Why? Because you're making the world a better place, and you try to help them to solve that problem of mistreatment. Then on the other hand, it might be that they have a problem that you may know something about how to solve, like they need constructive information.
Yes.
See, that's the other part of justice. See, you try to find out, well, I understand that you didn't know how to do such a thing. Well, I know how to do that, or I know someone that I can introduce you to that knows how. Would you like to meet that person? And then you talk to the person that you want them to meet, and you make the world a better place. That should be your plan. That should be the plan of every non-white person and really every white person on the planet. If we're going to have a planet that's dominated by what? The practice of justice. Because when you practice justice any kind of way, you are damaging all forms of non-justice.
Yes.
And you will automatically be damaging the system of white supremacy.
Yes, yes. TalkTainmentRadio.com is a 24/7 worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, politics, and maybe we're going to have technology with this phone situation. But anyway, here are three: Senior Agenda, Urban Flow, and It's Your Time. All these shows are exclusive to TalkTainmentRadio.com, and all you have to do is go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage and click on programs, and there you will see all the programs listed for your listening pleasure, times, and a little bit about the host. All that is exclusive to TalkTainmentRadio.com, and while you are there, hit that donate button so that we can continue with this second hour. And the voice that you hear, other than mine, is now the voice of Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. We have for the most part, worked through our issues that the usual suspects have tried to do and to sabotage the show. I hope that we're able to get that 40 minutes back at some particular point, but I don't have a dog in that fight. But I would like it because you listen to the show and people are responding to Mr. Fuller and his words. They are hungry to hear the words of Mr. Fuller. So hopefully we can get those 40 minutes back. Anyway, go through the Talk to Him at radio.com homepage, click on programs, and you'll be right there. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Mr. Fuller is back. He is live. It is his voice that you're going to hear other than mine reading the questions. If you didn't like the other ones and you want to criticize me, go ahead. You can write me and criticize me. It's okay. You know, I've learned to accept all callers. Okay. We have one? Okay. Caller, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Mr. Bobby.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for Mr. Fuller.
Okay.
I want to know if you ever heard of a guy called Mr. Yuri Bezmenov. He was
Wait a minute. Hold it now. I can't hear you. Mr. Who?
Yuri Bezmenov.
Yuri Bezmenov?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he explained most of the stuff that we have to read through to actually find the truth.
Okay. Well, let me ask Mr. Fuller this. Mr. Fuller, are you familiar with Yuri Bezmenov?
With what?
Yeah, Yuri Bezmenov. Are you familiar with this person?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of him. Okay, caller. Mr. Fuller has never heard of this person.
Well, it's I don't know if I pronounce it right, but it's spelled Yuri.
Yes.
Menov.
Okay.
Well, he was a Soviet Union deflector, and he did an interview in 1980.
Okay. Okay, caller. I'm sorry, you are breaking up so badly. I can't even hear you. Maybe if you could call me back, because I really couldn't hear you, and I am so sorry. I apologize. You were really breaking up, and Mr. Fuller couldn't hear you also. So call us back, and we'll see what we can do. Let me go here. Dr. Javari on the Gmail says this, Mr. Fuller. Number one, why beating children is wrong. And how do we stop black parents from doing it because it happened to them? And number two, how do we stop black male molestation of black girls without involving white authority?
What's the first question?
Why beating children is wrong, and how do we stop black parents from doing it because it happened to them?
We asked them. Like we can do it right now on the air. I say you talk to your offspring. I mean, now some people, they say that their religion requires them to beat on their offspring. Well, if your religion requires you to do that, well, I can't say anything about that. I mean, except what I have written and what I say is you talk to people. You talk to people if you want them to do something. You talk to them. That's any people. Young people are nothing but young people. They're still people. So you talk to them and you tell them why. Always say why. You don't tell a young person or an old person. You do it because I said so. That's not a reason for anybody ever to do anything.
Yes, sir.
Because somebody said so. Any person that ever existed, you don't do anything because somebody said so. That's dangerous. You give the reason. You show them cause and effect. As early as possible, you show a young person, because you might die tomorrow. You want that young person to have some idea about what to do when he or she is absolutely alone. Because he or she may be absolutely alone in the next 30 minutes. The house may burn down, and you get trapped in there and you're burned alive. Now, you have a 10-year-old that managed to get out of the house. what message did you leave? So you always tell a person, you instruct a person the way to go, and tell that person why, rather than just leave them out there in the world doing things, but they don't know why they are doing it, other than, this is what my grandmother told me.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be all out of context if you understand why, because understanding is very important. See, when a person asks the question why, that has to do with one word, understanding. That's what that word is for. That's one of the most important words, if not the most important word in any language, is why. You want to find out, if you're going to the moon, you want to know, why am I going to the moon? In order to do what? Why is there a moon up there in the first place? Not just what it is, but why is it there? It does something. So if you find out why, you have a lot of information there. That's on anything.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that we have 4 seasons?
Okay.
Summer, winter, autumn, fall. There's a reason. There's a reason why the leaves are on the trees, and then they fall off of the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come back. More leaves come back and replace them at a different time. There are reasons for these things. If you know these reasons, you're really getting what? Education.
Education, yes, sir.
So that's, rather than beat someone with a stick, you're teaching them that this is how you teach someone.
Okay.
You run around beating people with sticks. Now, we already have enough of that.
Yes, sir.
Black people have been beaten and beaten and beaten and beaten and beaten, and whips were made for them to be beaten.
And still
So
being...
we need to be real cautious about that beating thing.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Yes, sir. And still been beaten and shot and killed, especially even in this city. Okay, all righty. Let's see here. Dr. Dorsey says this, Mr. Fuller, from the Gmails. He said, Mr. Fuller, you state that black men cannot be men under the system of white supremacy, to which I fully agree. But my question is, can white men be men under the system of white supremacy, since the system provides them with so many unearned advantages? Aren't they childlike too, since the white supremacist system provides them with so many privileges and advantages for them to win? Spoiled kids, so to speak. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you very much.
You can't be in captivity and be a man or a woman. You're just a male and a female in captivity, because you can't manage anything. See, woman, she's the womb of man, all right? And the man is a manager. Or woman is also a manager. That's why the word, the suffix, M-A-N, is in the term woman. She's the womb of a man. That's what I take that to mean. It might not mean that literally, I mean, and historically and all like that, but I think it's pretty close in function. It's the truth. So therefore, hey. So, but in captivity, once you're a captive, that means you're restricted. And you have become the child, really, the illegitimate child of your captives. So children are not men and women, because they're not managing anything. They are carrying out the instructions of their captors. That's the way it works. So you cannot function as managers. You're not managing anything. You are taking orders from managers, and those managers are white. So in the system of white supremacy, the only people who can really be correctly qualified and are called correctly by the title of man and woman are white men and white women. They're the only people who are the supreme managers of the affairs of all of the non-white people of the planet. Sorry about that. We need to get rid of that, because as racists, they're not supposed to be functioning. It's okay to be managers if you are doing the correct thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not doing the correct thing, then you should be replaced with somebody who will do the correct thing. But right now, the non-white people of this planet don't know how to manage anything because we're prisoners of war. And everything that we learn, every place that we're allowed to go, everything that we're allowed to do has taken all of the management ability away from us.
Okay.
Since we have been in captivity to the white supremacists. They are the only people who are correctly called men and women. We are males and females. And now they are even scrambling that to go to show you how much power supremacists have. Because now they're scrambling the genders all over the place among non-white people. Why? Because that gives them greater power. That strengthens them. And that weakens non-white people. Because you have what? When you have 15, 20, 30 type of genders among non-white people, you have what? You have confusion.
Confusion.
And when you have that amount of sexual confusion, you don't have what you call focus and clarity. And you don't have a mission. You're just running around just doing stuff. All kinds of stuff. Because you can't even recognize your own sexuality. Not to say anything about men and women.
Yes, sir.
Being men and women.
Mm-hmm. Okay, TalkTameAtRadio.com. TalkTameAtRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTameAtRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our call-in number is, and it is working, 1-877 932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com, and I will try to read that to you. And if Mr. Fuller cannot hear you, just state your question real slowly so that I can repeat it to him, and then we can get your questions answered. Thank you for your listenership. Let's go to line number 1. Go ahead, caller. You're on.
Yes, good morning. I just want to say I put this book for my daughter, 12-year-old daughter, and we're working with it right now. And I think the title is very self-explanatory. It's really not a lot of debate in the title once you read the title. And I live in Baltimore, and if anybody doesn't believe in white supremacy, in a major city, and look at all the vacant buildings and houses.
Okay.
Black people went to.
Okay, wait a minute. Just a minute. Mr. Fuller, can you hear anything that he is saying?
I cannot hear anything that he's saying.
Okay. Okay, caller. Okay, caller, repeat your question to me, the main point, so that I can get Mr. Fuller to answer your question. You're speaking about a title. Title to what?
I was saying the title of his book.
Oh, wait a minute. The title of his book, okay. And you're explaining it to your daughter?
Yeah, I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I'm trying to get her the concept of racism because
okay.
The resurrection of our problem will rely on youth.
Okay. Now, what is your question for Mr. Fuller?
I really don't have a question.
Okay.
I just thank them for reading the book and revitalizing my juices and get me back into the movement.
Okay. I will relay that message to him. Thank you very much for your call.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fuller, all he was saying is that he has a 12-year-old daughter, and he is thanking you for your book, the title of it, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. He is thanking you for that because he is teaching his daughter about racism and white supremacy. And he has your book to rely on with the suggestions that you have made in this book, and he was just simply calling you to thank you for your publication.
I appreciate his appreciation.
Okay. All righty. We got another call? Okay, line number 2. Okay, go ahead, caller. Go ahead. Yeah, you're on, caller. Go ahead. So that Mr. Fuller, repeat your question to me so that I can repeat it to Mr. Fuller.
Okay, am I on?
Yeah, go ahead and repeat it to me because Mr. Fuller cannot hear you.
Well, real quick. Okay, this is TJ gonna come out here. I wanted to switch it up. I know what he's going to say if I ask him how's he doing, but a lot of people, I just want to know. This one, Mr. Fuller, how was you feeling?
How was he what?
Can he real quick go with for show-offism and why we so on it like that?
Show-offism?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And how is he feeling this morning?
Okay, all right.
How's he going?
Okay. Mr. Fuller, he wants to know about show-offism and then how are you feeling as opposed to how you're doing.
How am I feeling?
Yes, sir.
How am I feeling about what?
Okay. Okay. Good comeback. How you feel about what? Okay. But explain the show-offism.
The show-offism?
Yes, sir.
That's in the textbook. The four show-offisms.
Yeah.
They are about the non-white people of the planet, for the most part, particularly black people in the northwestern hemisphere. I'm hearing an echo, too.
Okay.
Anything you can do about the echo?
Okay, yeah, they're addressing that as we speak. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. The non-white people, particularly the black people of the northwestern hemisphere, if truth be told, according to my observations, and people can verify it if they wish to, if they don't, if they disagree with it, and they say we have some other priority, I would like to know what it is, and they can call it to my attention. But I would say, to my conclusion at this time, is that one reason that collectively black people in the northwestern hemisphere have not done as much as they possibly could do about racism and replacing it with a system of justice is because our priority has been, and I state this as a fact, it may not be true, that overall, and this doesn't apply to all black people, but too many black people, most of us, have as a priority for our existence showing off to each other. Showing off what? Showing off our ability to, getting things. I mean, we get a little this and that and a little of that. And then we want to show off to our neighbors our new picket fence or whatever. Show off something that we bought in a store. Something that comes from directly and indirectly from the white supremacists. And that's our ambition, to get together enough money to buy something to show off to other black people. It might be what you might call kin people or something like that, relatives, cousins, or or an uncle or someone, or an aunt. Show off to each other, and certainly to people that we know. Buying things or acquiring things, we're talking about showing off things. And if we stop and think about it, is that what you're working to do? Is that the end and be all of everything? We need to ask ourselves these questions. Why are we buying this particular object to put into the living room? Is to invite somebody over to show it off to them? And who is this person you're going to show it to? And for what ultimate purpose? Once they see it, now what? So they saw it, and they said, that's nice, and they walked away. And is that the reason for working hard and trying to acquire things? So we're talking about things. The next thing, the show-offism, is knowledge. I know this, I know that. I went to this school, I went to that school. What school did you go to? And we show off knowledge to each other. But here's what. What do you get in return for it? See, well, I get the satisfaction of letting them know that I know something. Well, then that's like prisoners showing off their chains. Slaves showing off their chains, which becomes the things, or a one slave telling another that I read a book that you didn't read. And so I know more than you. So you're showing off knowledge. And then the other, number 3, is showing off the ability to belittle each other. You know, and sometimes we'll use things that we have bought to make a person feel like, well, you don't have as much as I have. These are people that we know, or people that have come around, to our parties and whatnot. I have 2 of these. How many do you have? That type of things. And that's belittling. They're using things, going back to number 1, showing off the things to belittle, to make the person feel bad because they don't have what you have. We do a lot of that. Or just showing off your new hairdo in order to get what? What are you looking for? Do we ever ask ourselves these questions? Why are we working so hard in order to get this and get that and to go here and to go there? I went on a cruise. That's what you tell a person under that third show-offism. Did you go on a cruise last summer? Well, I went on a cruise, and I went all over the South Atlantic. I went to all the islands and whatnot, or the South Pacific, and I stopped here and I stopped there. And let me show you a photograph. This is me standing in front of this mountain. This is me paddling a canoe. You're showing off. And what is the showing off for? Well, I feel better about myself that I was able to show people what I could do. Well, so you showed them. Now what? That's Act 1. What is Act 2 worth? Or is there an Act 2? Or do you have another act? Okay? And then number 4, showing off the sexual ability. Black males do a lot of that, and always have, as far back as I can remember. I went to bed with this person. I went to bed with that person. I got her in bed, and I did this, and I did that. Man, she really likes me. I got 9 women. I'm going for 9 more. Showing off sexual abilities to each other. Now, what's the contrast? The white supremacists. The white supremacists say, yeah, I show off. I show off that I run the entire world. That's what I show off. That's my showcase. Now, let me see your Negro showcase. Those 4 things that I just mentioned. Running up and down the block showing off to each other. How many women you got? Whether or not you were able to buy a new car last year. Whether or not you can say something to someone in a belittling fashion and everybody else laughs at the someone. This is really, if we look at it, the extent of our ambition. And it doesn't in any way match something as awesome as a white person who says, you know what? I'm going to the moon. Why? Because it's there. And after I get to the moon, I'm going to all of the other stars, every one of all of the zillions of them out there. And there are zillions of them that I know nothing about, but I'm going to find out about them. And that's the way that I show off. I learn everything about everything. Particularly, I learn everything there is to know that's worth knowing about a black person and have them under my foot as a white supremacist. Mm-hmm. And that's how I show off. Now, does your little showing off in the ghetto hood match anything in ambition, like the ambition of a white supremacist? The answer is no.
Okay. TalkTimeAtRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTimeAtRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Now, this is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. You can call in by calling 1-877 932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numero 7, MrBobby@gmail.com. I will not be able to read all of the Gmails right now, but before we take these last three callers in our remaining 12 minutes, Mr. Fuller, I want you to know that the usual suspects, are deliberately distorting the sound, but that's okay. We're not going to quit. And the reason why they're doing it, because your message is being effective. This is the only show that this stuff happens on. And it's a shame, but that's okay. We're still getting your message out. So you keep on doing what you do. Let's go to line number 1. You are on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Brenda D.L.K. Kearney. Yes, God. And look, thanks very much for being my friend.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you. Mr. Fuller, she said her name was Brenda, and she said thank you for your message. This is what I'm talking about. Your message is effective because other usual suspects are trying to distort it, but it is getting out. As a matter of fact, the more that they do that, the more it seems to get out. So thank you, Miss Brenda, for your call. Line number 2, you're on.
I just want to make a comment, my good brother.
Okay, my brother, I got to give you a minute this time, but go ahead.
Oh, I appreciate that, brother. Thank you for the minute.
Yes, sir.
A 15-year-old boy assassinated in Texas. These assassinations are going to continue. They are moving us up to a full-out extermination. They are dehumanizing us. That is a human rights violation in Texas. Ever since we've been here, all these lynchings, killing, they are human rights violations. They are not civil issues. As long as we leave it into a civil court, a civil action, we lose. These are human rights violations. Right now, we got to try to save as many lives as possible. If you are able to get out of here, you should get out if you can, because there's going to be an all-out assault on us. They are setting it up.
All right, brother.
Your eyes.
Okay. Thank you, for my brother. Mr. Fuller, that was a man that we affectionately call, he's affectionately known on the internet as the Extermination Man, and he just said under VGQ, the officials in Texas exterminated or killed a 15-year-old black boy, and he said that this is a part of the dehumanization process, and it's a human rights violation. What they are doing. This is under VGQ, but I have seen that story, and this is what they're doing. Not only in Texas, but they're doing that all over. Extermination Man is on to something, but that was under VGQ. Did you hear all that, Mr. Fuller?
I heard it.
Okay. You have a comment about that kind of situation going all over across this land in the so-called Northwestern Hemisphere?
Well, it's not just the Northwestern Hemisphere. I pick up the paper every morning, and I see where in places like goes under the name of Nigeria, Somalia, Haiti. I think you see statistics that report it every day, and it goes with the territory of a war that is going on.
Yes, sir.
Black people are dying like flies everywhere. I mean, AIDS, Zika, gunfire, all types of things. Floods that are artificially brought on.
Yes, sir.
All like this. I mean, whole towns or villages are wiped out. I mean, all over the map. So this is what you go by, not just in the Northwestern Hemisphere. I mean, this is going on 24/7 everywhere. And I call it racial population tailoring. That's what I call it. They're not trying to kill us all. If they wanted to kill us all, we'd been gone. They just want to keep the population tailored so that they'll have, say, 2 million black people in a place, in a certain place, and they have, they figure out that that's too many. 2 million in that particular place is not good for the business of white supremacy. So they'll just tailor it, and they'll kill off 1 million, one way or another, or have them kill each other, so that they get it down to 1 million, rather than 2 million.
Okay.
And then they can handle that population better. So this is an ongoing thing that goes with the entire system of white supremacy.
Yes, sir.
They will continue this as long as you have the system. Racial population tailoring. This is described in the textbook.
Okay,
racism.
Racial population tailoring. Okay. Race Rules said this before we take the call, said that the movie Get Out is supposedly scheduled to be released on the 23rd of May. And then he wrote a couple other little things about that. In particular, House Representative Bill number 40 by John Conyers before he retired, about what they are doing and blocking reparations. Yeah, that's what it was. Anyway, thank you for Race Rules. Okay, let's go to the call. Okay, caller, you're now on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, caller. Yeah, go ahead. You can be heard, but I'm going to have to repeat your question so that Mr. Fuller can hear you. So go ahead.
Yes, sir. My question is to Mr. Fuller, if he thinks it's important, do you suggest that non-white people be as concise as possible when they're communicating with another person and ask more questions than statements?
Okay, you want Mr. Fuller to address, should we be more concise in asking questions to the white supremacists?
We be more concise in our conversations.
In our conversations
with white people,
with
non-white people.
Okay,
and also ask more questions than statements.
Okay.
And make statements.
Okay, because I'm trying to get it in there. Ask more questions. Be more concise. I'm sorry with that distortion. It's not you. It's what they are doing. But Mr. Fuller, he's asking, should we be more concise in our questions, with one another and toward white people? And also, what was that last one, caller?
That we ask more questions.
Ask more.
And we make statements.
Okay, and he said ask more questions than statements, Mr. Fuller?
Yes, that is better conversation control. I call it compensatory conversation control. And you're always better at anything when you have conversations that's based on nothing but questions and answers. So you're gaining something when you're asking a question, because you may get an answer. When you're making statements, you're telling people what you know. Well, you already know what you know. So you're not gaining information when you're making statements to other people. You're gaining information, and you're gaining knowledge and understanding, and you're making yourself more powerful when you ask more questions rather than make statements. When you make statements, you're talking about things that you have already concluded that you know, for the most part, by making any kind of statement. But if you go around asking questions all the time, and people are answering you, even if the answers are false, you're still gaining information. You're gaining the information that you got a false answer to a question. That's information. But you're learning. That's the process of learning. All learning is putting out a question and getting an answer to that question.
Okay.
And the essence of education is nothing but questions and answers.
Okay.
So the more questions you ask and you get accurate answers, truthful answers, the more you become what we call educated.
Okay. Dr. Anderson L., the donate button is on the home page on the right-hand side underneath where the telephone number is. That's where the donate button. All right, let's get this call in. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, terrible. But I'd like to ask a question. Who should my letter be directed to when my demand return my portion of my income tax money that goes to Israel for Israel security? We need more money to secure our people.
Okay, caller, let me say this. the usual suspects are blocking you so that I can't hear you and Mr. Fuller can't hear you. So this is what I want you to do. Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com, and what I will do, and this is for all the other callers too, you Gmail me and then I will read your questions to Mr. Fuller, because they are really messing this thing up where I can't even hear you now. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I can't even hear now hardly one word you're saying. Anyway, just Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. I will read your question to Mr. Fuller. That way we don't have to worry about their distortion, because apparently they don't want you to get through. Okay?
Yes, but would you say Gmail?
Yeah. The numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY @gmail.com, and then I will get your question and read it, okay? All right. Thank you so much. Mr. Fuller, thank you. I'm going to call you off air. Thank you for your patience. Callers, thank you for your patience. They're trying to get us, but we're still doing it. Talk to him at radio.com.